Good morning. My name's Steve Hedley. I'm from the Newham Trades Council, which is basically an organisation of trade unionists in Newham, which borders on this borough, really. And just here today to bring solidarity. And I think what a ridiculous position we're in when a Labour government, a so-called Labour government, are leading the biggest crackdown on civil liberties in a generation. We have not just this case where a 19-year-old girl was pulled out of her bed for stating people's rights under international law. Under international law, an occupied people has got the right to resist and the right to self-defense. And in effect, that's all she was saying. And imperialism and capitalism, since it was invented, really, since it occurred, have had the tactic of whenever they go in and steal a country's resources, murder its people, pillage that country, anyone who resists, they label a terrorist. And the tactic in this particular genocide that's going on in Gaza, and the tactic to silence the resistance of it, is to not just label everybody a terrorist, but to label everybody Hamas. So these people are not stupid. They know that the Palestinian people do have a right to resist. There are several factions in Palestine which actively resist, but they are pretending that any resistance is Hamas, which is absolutely bizarre. And of course, this is part of a pattern. They weren't expecting this kind of resistance. They weren't expecting millions of people on the streets nearly 2 years after the genocide started. They probably thought it would fade away, or you just have the usual suspects. But when we have people like Kneecap and Bob Villain, who are raising the issue of the genocide, and getting massive support, we have the establishment in retreat and disarray. Of course, it's all right for actual terrorists, people in the IDF, who are British citizens, who get paid leave for work, who go off and murder children and women in Gaza. They're not criminalized, they're not terrorists. They come back to welcomes. Welcome back to your job. How many kids have you killed this week? But people who call out that behaviour, who bring that behaviour to people's attention, suddenly they're the terrorists. So why is it not that the IDF are not labelled a terrorist organisation? After killing 56,000 people that we know about, probably the same amount under the rubble, 70% of them women and children. These are war crimes. Look up the definition of terrorism. It's the use of terror to achieve a political aim. And the political aim is to evacuate Gaza, to cause people to flee Gaza when they have the opportunity, to ethnically cleanse Gaza, and to use terror to do that. So the Israeli government and the IDF are clearly a terrorist organisation. And we look at our politicians, Yvette Cooper in particular. And if anybody wants to Google Yvette and the word suffragette beside it, you will see Yvette and even people like John Bercow all wearing suffragette colours in Parliament. The suffragettes actually let off bombs, okay? The suffragettes never killed anybody, but they let off bombs. They smashed windows, they destroyed property. That's what the suffragettes did. They were a direct action movement. Part of a direct action tradition that goes back to the levellers in this country who resisted peacefully against oppression. And it's all right, of course, they celebrate the suffragettes because that was 100 years ago. But now we see that people that are throwing red paint over planes are put on the same page as ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They say that they're terrorists. I have to say, if Yvette Cooper and this mob of the Labour Party were around 100 years ago, they would be the people that were trying to terrorise, put suffragettes into jail and force-feed them instead of wearing their colours. So comrades, this belongs to everybody. This belongs to everybody, and it's great that people take direct action. But as a trade unionist, I'm going to say this, and it might offend some people, but I'm fed up with trade unionists on platforms talking to thousands of people in Trafalgar Square saying how much they support Palestine.
Yeah.
Well, if you support Palestine, Eddie Dempsey of the RMT, tell your members in the Red Sea who are working on the Royal Fleet Auxiliary to stop aiding and abetting the Royal Navy. When they're sending flights over Palestine, giving the information to the Israeli forces who are conducting that genocide. They're actively participating in a genocide. If you support Palestine, Sharon Graham from Unite, tell your members to stop making the bombs and the weapons and the parts for the F-35 that are going off and killing children in Gaza and indeed in the West Bank. And Fran Heathcote, who has spoken at every PCS meeting in support of Palestine and has been put on stages by the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Fran, if you support Palestine, tell the civil servants who are signing off the orders to send those parts, those weapons to Palestine, not to do it. Balaam! Because people are fed up with words. They're fed up with words. And I'll end on this. In the 1980s, and given the demographics here, probably some of us were here.
Yeah, they were.
We had a very small organisation in Ireland, the trade union organisation, who refused to handle goods in Dunnes Stores, which is a big supermarket in Ireland that came from apartheid South Africa. And that had international repercussions. We have dockers today who are refusing in Spain to unload goods for Israel, weapons for Israel. And it's absolutely about time that the trade unions in this country, the organised working class in this country, the leadership in particular, put their money where their mouth is. Boycott Israel, boycott the genocide, stop moving weapons. Solidarity.